What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. We're going to be looking at the best champions that are climbing right now for every single role. Timestamps and the champions are listed in the description as usual, but let's jump into the video. And remember, this is aimed at solo queue for us plebs, right? Not challenger or pro games. So we're going to start with the mid lane, and I think right now Kassadin has a top spot overall. There are so many mages about, you cannot really go wrong, to be honest. Like, if you learn the lane phase, the game becomes really easy. You're such a good like mid to late game mage anyway, that if you get that early phase down and you can consistently come out ahead and get a gold lead, you're always going to do really well. Honestly, I find it really hard to play against Kassadin because if you don't punish him early, he's like this kind of time bomb, right? He gets his Rod of Ages, he gets his Lich Bane, and suddenly he's going to dick on you. So if you don't put him behind early enough, like, you're going to have a real issue with him. Build would be Rod of Ages and Lich Bane, like, you have the scaling, you have the burst, and you're tankier to jump in as well. But it's actually kind of the mastery page. It gives you bonus armor and magic resist for 2 seconds when you take damage. So it's really good for trading or like when you jump in. Like, you jump in, you take less damage for a little bit, you wait for cooldowns, and you jump back out again. Honestly, I think Kassadin is pretty easy to play. Like, you Q poke right until they're low enough, you jump in and you burst with your W, you wait cooldowns and you repeat over and over. That is basically it. Sure, against a better player it becomes a lot harder, right? But at lower ranks at least, that is pretty much how every single lane goes. The main things are you are an anti-mage, and assassins kept getting nerfed over and over, so we see loads of mages right now. There are very few bad matchups and a lot of good ones. You can roam to get kills really easily, you get ahead early, or you just kind of wait and you crush mid to late game. So there's not really that much risk, and it's not really that difficult to play. Instead of a number 2 spot, what we're going to do is split this into the next best mage and assassin. They're kind of like two categories of mid laners right now, and they're both very different. So Talon is going to be the assassin, and the things with assassins normally is that easily countered, right? Talon doesn't really have that issue though. He's good as a blind pick in most games really. Partly it's the parkour stuff, so he can roam around. Like, he doesn't really 1v1 that much anyway, but the bleed and the crit can actually burst surprise people big time. So he's not that bad in the lane phase. He is also one of the few who beats Kassadin actually, because he's AD, so the shield doesn't really do anything. He's also good versus mages, and his bad matchups are not as popular, which are like Fizz, LeBlanc falling out of favor a little bit more. There are a lot of low health targets around in this meta, which is honestly exactly what you want, and you don't even actually fall off as hard either. Like, you're much better early game, but you're still not that bad late. Roaming is the main part of this. Like, your win rate is best if you can end pre 35 minutes, and you'll do that by jumping walls and getting kills that way. Like, he has one of the highest kills per game for any mid laner right now. Ahri is the mage side, which isn't that much of a surprise here. She's like one of the few who doesn't get 100% boned by Kassadin or Talon and Fizz and stuff. She's just super safe and reliable. So as a champion, I don't think she's that broken, but it's how with her you rarely get punished for your mistakes. Like, that is what gives her such a good win rate consistently. It's really revolving around the mid game. Like, you're the proper mid game mage at the moment. Super high damage, you're decent at roaming, but you can function, as we said, as that assassin or mage. The middle ground, the best of both worlds. It means you can pick people off and get that kill to start with and kind of turn into a 5v4 for your team, but you can also just team fight really well, consistently pumping out your Q damage over and over. The safety from your ultimate and her roaming is the biggest things really. She is one of the lowest deaths per game out of any mid laner, while still having decent assist and kill numbers. She's not going to be like as hard carry as a Fizz or something, but she's so reliable, like game in, game out. That is why she's so good. Let's move on to the AD carry role now, and Lucian is basically the AD Ahri. So Lucian has the second lowest deaths per game on average for an AD, which in this meta is saying something for sure. That is kind of the thing really. You have really good damage, especially mid game, but you can stay safe, you can duel people, you kite them if they dive in, you keep yourself alive. You have to remember, in this meta we have like defensive shield and heal support, so Lucian is already safe, and it's kind of taken to another level by the picks around him. You have that damage from range as well. You can ultimate and then go into finish. It makes him even safer, but it makes him more useful as well. A lot of AD carries can only do damage if they're in auto attack range, which kind of limits them a little bit and reduces their overall damage in a game, but Lucian doesn't really have that problem. You are the most reliable AD carry in my opinion. You're good in every team comp, in every single lane, and against any champions really. Kog'Maw and Twitch are the only ones who give you a bit of trouble. You cannot go wrong with this guy honestly, and you always stand a chance to carry the game. I tried to highlight something that you might not have thought about, like the safety aspect of it, because we see him all the time. Now Twitch is one of the few who can actually stand up to Lucian. That's what puts him in the second spot now, and when you're going against Lucian in like 30 to 40% of your games, which is ridiculous, then you need something that beats him. Twitch's range and burst kind of have that covered, and that's a lot to do with the Blade the Ruined King first, which is the most reliable. Like, it gives you some lifesteal extra damage into crit afterwards. Now a lot of people won't agree with this one, I think, probably because he's so bad early and can be beat, but it's pretty disgusting if you get to 5 or 6 items. If you do get to that stage of the game, you're going to win 65% of the time, and I cannot tell you how ridiculous that is. The overpowered level is normally 53 or 54%. Most of this is you're a late game monster that can legit just 1v5, but also you're really strong at mid game as well. You can roam around, you impact fights big time, and you snowball ahead even further further, reaching those 6 items quicker. So Jinx is my one to keep an eye on, at least for now. She's shot up a lot this patch at higher ranks like Plat and Diamond. I'm taking a guess, but she dumpsters Zaya really hard with her range and rockets, so that's going to make her seem a lot better. But in theory, it's a similar deal to Twitch. You have less impacts and playmaking mid-game for sure, but just as much damage later into the game, so it's kind of actually very similar. Now let's move on to the jungle. So I'm going to split this into low elo and high elo because it's totally different, to be honest. Like, there are totally different picks. So Amumu is going to be for bronze, silver, and gold, and even though those 3 brackets are very different, like, he is the best so far at all of them. The main downside to Amumu is counter jungling or very heavy ganking junglers just kind of outpacing him in the early game, and at lower ranks you don't have this much of a problem. You have to remember you are a team fight late game jungler, right? So even though you aren't that bad early, you have to remember you need your items to really have a big impact in the game. You're going to be jumping in and you need items to do damage and to survive. Your win rate has been pretty nuts recently ever since the passive change, just because you're buffing all of these AP champions around you as well, but you're by far the best to play, and I think that's because you're so well rounded. This is the main thing about jungle Amumu, right? You're tanky, you're the engage, you have crowd control, which by the way is the easiest way to win by far at lower ranks, and you also have damage, so you can legit carry in every single way. A lot of champions will have like the damage to carry, or they'll absorb loads of damage to carry that way, or they'll have the crowd control to lock people down and carry that way, but literally you're like a one-man army. That is why you're so good. So moving on to our higher elo pick, it's going to be Ivern. He is so dumb right now, it's actually insane. He used to be really good early before the enemy damage ramped up, but now he's not falling off anymore, and this is why he's so good. Ivern is basically another support, okay? He's so broken because he stops people dying and absorbs all the enemy team's damage. It might not be obvious, but it's so hard to play against. His ganks are pretty decent anyway. Like, his clear is pretty good because of his passive and the way it works, and it's a lot about tempo actually. This is something nobody talks about. I never talk about it either, but tempo is kind of the pace at which the game is played, the timing of builds and stuff like that. Ivern basically stays ahead of the enemy team's curve so that he gets cheap defensive items that counter the gold spent on damage items for the enemy team, and the issue is people cannot build enough damage fast enough. The thing is, he is the most assists per game for a jungler and the least deaths. Okay, that is a brutal combo, and it shows you just what he's supposed to do. His team doesn't die, he disrupts fights and is really irritating to play against with some crowd control, and he lets them get to work and do their job properly. Graves is kind of the middle ground. Like, he's still the most well-rounded carry jungler, to be honest. You cannot go wrong picking Graves except team comp wise, I guess. Like, but you have good farming, good at all stages, and his damage is really good. My one to watch out for though is going to be Kindred. So she's creeping up over the last few patches and basically one of the best mid-game junglers right now with how much damage she can do, and this meta is really helping her as well. You have to remember, like, defensive supports are not just there for the AD carry, they help you a lot as well. Plus your ultimate makes it even harder to kill your team on top of the shields. Moving on to top lane, Darius is back to number 1 for me. Top lane seems really lane focused at the moment, and no one is better in lane than Darius really. A big part of this is tanks have been nerfed and he craps on them so hard now, so he just naturally gets a little bit better, I guess. Further is the reason you do not need to build more damage than Black Lever as well. You stack it very quickly with your W, and it catches people by surprise, I think, more than anything. Like, his short trade can actually do way more than you think it does. You really don't have that many bad matchups except Fizz right now, and AD carries are in general low mobility, high damage, but they can't kite you as easily at least, which is one of his biggest problems. I think you're the most well-rounded top laner and a real carry as well, so once he gets ahead, there's honestly not much you can do except hold on and kind of hope that he falls off a little bit. Speaking of the Darius counter, Fizz is so good right now, and he's kind of like an early game pick though, really. Like, Ignite gives you like lane pressure, so normally you always win the lane phase, but if you get camped, you're kind of boned. If you're going to take Ignite, you have to accept that some games it's going to go really badly because you don't have that flash to get away, but other games are going to go really well. This is a really big snowball pick, so you need to win and get ahead, otherwise you will not be able to dive into the enemy team and do very much, and that is one of the biggest problems. The reason you want to pick this though is because you're a real hard carry pick, but you're also tanky, so you can be picked into any team comp in my opinion. You have some crowd control, you have a lot of damage, you can survive for quite a while with your E to dodge damage as well, so if you do get ahead, you're almost impossible to deal with. Now I'm sticking a joint third one here actually instead of one to watch. You're probably all going to flame me for this, but Trynd is actually really good. He's one of the highest earners top lane gold wise and probably the best split pusher you can play at the moment. I've seen this build as well, like the Shiv, Blade the Ruin King and Black Lever, which is getting really popular at the moment, and it's more mid-game-ish, which kind of helps him snowball a bit more. You can cheese these early kills with crits, right, and then you snowball into those items. It's kind of like a Twitch. You're a beast at like 4 items or 5 or full build, but full build doesn't have to be late game if you get a few kills early, if that makes sense. Apart from Pantheon, like a lot of your counters are actually out of the meta right now, and you can get a free farm lane which leads to a sick mid-game and a really good split pusher. So support is going to be last. Again, still number 1 I think is Lulu. Support isn't really changing much, but it will in the mid-season update, so that's kind of what we're waiting for. I honestly think she's way too strong at every single stage in the game at the moment. Like, I don't really think there's a reason not to pick her. I take Ignite as well. By the way, like, one thing a lot don't do is go aggressively early few levels. Like, Thunderlords and Ignite and full combo does a ton of damage. I know most people take Wind Speakers, but Thunderlords, even without that, actually, you still do a load of damage. This is what I mean. Like, you have the early bully potential into the most safe and defensive support, which doesn't really make sense. The main thing is the synergy with AD carries and how much damage she supplies, but it's like also how she can almost single-handedly counter the enemy top laner or jungler, whoever dives onto her AD carry, and remove that gold from the fight. I kind of hate myself, but I reckon Janna is coming back a bit now for the number 2 spot. Lucian Janna is really strong lane, honestly. She can shield him and let him do the work, which makes her weakest phase in the game a little bit better. With like Sensor and Redemption and Locket and stuff, obviously, like you end up having 2 AoE heals with Redemption and your ultimate, 2 shields with your E and your Locket, plus they all shield and heal for more and they apply sensor buffs. It's pretty broken. It's a bit ridiculous. Honestly, you don't have as much pressure, but like Twitch, Lucian, Kog'Maw, for example, can supply more than enough damage, so she doesn't really have to. You're honestly the ultimate peel and defensive support, and with certain AD carries, she is probably actually better than Lulu, which gives her a massive boost this patch. Alistar is going to be my one to watch. Not many people are talking about him, but the recent buffs actually were really nice. He's one of the best aggressive supports right now, like a lot of crowd control, decent damage. You can still build that meta crap like Janna or Lulu, but just having way more impact. Honestly, I just kind of like this one. Like, you've got the pressure in lane and then still some peel in team fights. You're a much better playmaker for like a bad team as well. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching until the end. Feel free to stick around and subscribe if you enjoyed, but for now, let's go to the robots.